believe that it will provide an opportunity to begin dialogue not only on how to improve future annual reports and coordinate the data collection that feeds into the report, but also dialogue around the implementation of the Act, both at the federal level and across Nigeria. I wish to commend the collaborative work of NAPTIP and its partners, and the collaborative and coordinated approach to partnering with the British Council Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Programme, and with other programs who form part of the stakeholder pool who are deeply invested in seeing the implementation of the VAPP Act actualized at federal and state level. I thank you all of the researchers that have contributed to this report, all of the agencies, all of the ministries, all of the stakeholders who have made input into this first annual report. And we hope that this will be the first in terms of being a stepping stone for how we might deepen the data collection, the information gathering for future annual reports. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Toyosi. We also have the head of foreign exchange representing Mr. Abdul Rashid Bawa, who is the chairman of the EFCC, Hawa Rinjin, to give her welcome, her goodwill message. A round of applause for her, please. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, all. I wish to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, and the DG of NAPTIP. I'm standing here for the Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, Mr. Abdurrashid Bawa, who is unavoidably absent, not present here, because he's attending to some national assignment. The goodwill message of the Executive Chairman cannot be extensively exhausted without looking at the relationship that exists between the NAPTIP and the EFCC. The EFCC and NAPTIP have had a very cordial relationship, especially when it comes to the investigation and prosecution of offenders, and also the use of the polygraph. The EFCC has one of the best polygraph units in Nigeria. So the NAPTIP is making use of that, and we are really working hand in hand with them. As you all know, human trafficking is one of the lucrative crime in the world. As the National World International Trade Organization stated that it has annually, the human trafficking generates almost $150 billion annually. And looking at that, we will see that based on the sizable proceeds of this trafficking is a predicate offense of money laundering. We have to look at the financial flow. When you look at the financial flow of this crime, you see that it differs depending on the cases involved. So because of the peculiarity of these cases, the investigation of those cases is a little bit complex, but at least we are trying to really work it out. Okay, I don't have much to say. The EFCC is, will I say, okay. The relationship that has existed between the NAPTIP and the EFCC has been very cordial, and we've had a very robust collaboration. We've had the synergy that existed, and we are looking forward to further collaboration with the NAPTIP when it comes to transborder crimes, so as to stem the tide of effect of corruption in Nigeria and the world at large. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'd just like to recognize the presence of the Executive Secretary, National Human Rights Commission. He's here with us, Tony Ojukwu. Thank you so much for being here. We also have Alhaji Ali Grima, who's the Director of Humanitarian Affairs, Acting Permanent Secretary representing the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, and that's Her Excellency Sadia Umar Farouk. Thank you so much, Alhaji Ali Grima, for being here. Okay, Colin, next for our goodwill message is the Assistant Commissioner of Police, representing the Inspector General of Police, and that is Grace Longe. Thank you very much for being here. You're welcome. A round of applause for her, please.
The Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, the face of Nigerian women in Nigeria, the Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Aziz, and all other very important persons present here this morning, ladies and gentlemen. I stand here this morning to represent my Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Alkali Baba, our own gender champion, who is unavoidably absent this morning, to bring a goodwill message to this House on this auspicious occasion. The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 is a very novel legislation that redefines responses to sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. As the lead law enforcement agency in Nigeria, we have been partnering very effectively with NAPTIP to deliver succor to victims and survivors of these crimes in the most professional way. Let me use this opportunity to also inform this family of the very strategic steps that the Nigeria Police Force has been taking to obey the provisions of this act, as well as mainstream gender into her operations. Currently, with the collaborations of strategic development partners, particularly the UN Women, the force is in the process of reviewing the forced gender policy, which was initially put together in 2010 and of course has become obsolete in view of the emerging situations. Particularly, I want to bring us to speed with the landmark response of our IGP to a situation in Enugu State Command, where the command attempted to evict women police that are resident in the police barracks with their civilian spouses. The IGP promptly issued a statement stopping them from doing so. Also, the gender desk across the states of the Federation in the Nigerian police establishments are also being strengthened, and the officers are also their capacities are being built to respond in accordance to the provisions of the new legislations, as well as other provisions that are in place for the response to sexual and gender-based violence. This occasion also couldn't have been held at a better time than now, where the 16 days advocacy against gender-based violence is holding across the nations of the world. So it is very, very strategic. Similarly, last year during the pandemic, the Nigeria Police Force responded to communities, women, men, and children who are indigent for the first time by engaging in community sensitization and medical outreaches to communities in the FCT under the watch of the first gender advisor, the AIG Aishatu Abubakar Baju. This was the first of its kind since the force was established. Of course, the understanding that we need to police from the heart brought this up. So 250 families, 250,000 families were reached out to and given packages, relief packages, to be able to cushion the effects of this, of the pandemic on their families as well. So, finally, we are very open and very much ready to provide support in the areas where we need to provide as an institution to NAPTIP and other associated organizations in order to respond professionally to these crimes. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, we have other goodwill messages coming in from various HIMAT members. Please, I crave your indulgence to, if we can stick with 1 minute, 1 minute 30 seconds for a goodwill message. So I would like to call on the stage the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, that's Tony Ojukwu, for his goodwill message. A round of applause for him, please. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, our own mother in the House, and the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, and my own sister, DG of NAPTIP. Please let me stand on the well-established protocols already. First of all, let me apologize for coming a little bit late. You know how it is in December for us. You are here and there. But I prioritize this as one of the events I must attend this morning. First of all, the relationship between NAPTIP and the Human Rights Commission has come a very long way. We share similar mandates. We promote and protect human rights. And more importantly, it is my sister that is the DG of NAPTIP. We collaborate in so many ways. We have not had a shelter of our own. And, you know, we have a department on women and children which deals squarely on issues on the VAPP Act. And NAPTIP has been giving us support. So on occasions like this, we must come to appreciate, to give NAPTIP the same kind of support they have been giving us. So we want to thank you, we want to encourage you in your work, and within the short period you have been at the helm of affairs of NAPTIP, you've been able to produce this report on the VAPP Act. Yes, the National Assembly domiciled the monitoring of this act with you. By this singular act, you have discharged that onus that you are able to coordinate the activities on VAPP. And we enjoin all stakeholders to please join you and give you support. So for the Commission, we have been utilizing the VAPP Act in our work. We give interim orders to protect families, to protect victims, and then we also want to encourage other stakeholders to do this. We want to also encourage stakeholders to join hands with the Commission, the Ministry of Women Affairs, and NAPTIP to make sure that the VAPP Act is adopted in all the states, because we need this. You know that since COVID-19 came in, issues of sexual and gender-based violence hit the roof. Issues of poverty, issues of livelihoods have worsened the issues of sexual and gender-based violence. So we stand in support and in collaboration with stakeholders like the rule of law and anti-corruption, like the British Council, the development partners who are here, to work hand in hand in situations like this to make sure that our people really take benefit of this legislation. We must also look at the good aspects, the innovations that have been brought by the VAPP Act, which has gone a long way to enlarge the issues concerning definition of rape, for instance. It has also dealt with so many other issues, clearly defining the issues that you deal with in issues of sexual and gender-based violence. There are so many commendable aspects of the VAPP Act which we need to take advantage of. So on this occasion, I want to commend once more the activities lined up here today by NAPTIP and the Ministry of Women Affairs and Humanitarian Affairs, and I enjoin all stakeholders to make sure that by next year, the report will be given on the VAPP law would have shown some measurable progress. On that note, I want to thank you once more, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, sir, for your remark. I'd like to call the Assistant Controller General in charge of social welfare, representing the Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Services, and that's D.O. Adaro, for his goodwill message. A round of applause for him, please. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talen, our mother in the house, the DG NAPTIP, the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, ably represented here, the Ambassador of EU to Nigeria, the DG of the National Human Rights Commission, Mr. Tony Ojukwu, other important dignitaries present here, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Odaro, here to represent the Controller General of Corrections, Aliru Nababa, who is unavoidably absent here today because of important assignments on his hand at this time. He has sent me to represent him and to present his words here for you. Now I read what he has asked me to present here. May I start by congratulating the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, for galvanizing the multi-sectoral energies here present today towards producing the first Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act implementation report after its passage in 2015. Today's presentation is a product of resilience and consistent commitment towards the elimination of violence in private and public life. The prohibition of all forms of violence against persons and provision of maximum protection and effective remedies for victims and punishment for offenders. This report measures the journey so far while dotting our successes, challenges, and accountability mechanism. The strain in collecting data in previous time underlay the menace of violence against persons in Nigeria. However, the success recorded in this report, though not the reflection of our best, will make VAPP issues appreciable and recalibrate the appropriate deployment of resources and energies towards realizing this noble cause. The depth of energy synergy exhibited in the process of collecting this data is admirable and should be sustained. The Nigerian Corrections Service, as a key player in the implementation of the VAPP Act, remains committed to the realization of its objectives. These include, among others, the resolve of the service to continually support the production of this report and other related reports, ensure proper execution of court sentences in this regard, and develop behavioral remedies for effective reformation of offenders in this category in order to manage recidivism among them and even eliminate rape issues. This service is open to collaboration and support in order to effectively play its part in the implementation process. I wish you a successful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not the least, on our, to give the goodwill message, I'd like to call on the head anti-human trafficking, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, and that is Commandant Janet Eho. Thank you very much. A round of applause for her, please.
the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, our mommy in the house, my beautiful, committed, a woman with the heart of gold, them, Pauline, Talent. Mommy, you're welcome. The Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, my wonderful DG, NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Aziz. Permit me to stand on the already established protocols. My name is Commandant Janet Elo, Head of Anti-Human Trafficking and Irregular Migration, NSCDC National Headquarters. On behalf of my Commandant General, the Commandant NSCDC Ahmed Audi Abubakar, PhD MNI, who is unavoidably absent because of other government functions saddled on him. Today, I am extremely glad to be able to make a speech in this very important occasion where all stakeholders who have been tirelessly worked in the drafting and validation of the annual VAPP implementation report are present. I want to especially appreciate your relentless zeal and believe that the VAPP Act, when implemented, can effectively reduce the equality gap between men and women in Nigeria. As we all know, that NSCDC is ever committed to this implementation of the VAPP Act. Our part as NSCDC is fully active in all phases of the VAPP implementation, especially in the Sexual Offender Register. It is the Commandant General's determination that the register is populated as much as possible to achieve its desired objective. The call to be modest is doing her best in this regard. Therefore, the VAPP implementation report for 2020 will communicate details, challenges, and way forward to all stakeholders. This event is therefore highly useful to all HIMARTs and every organization in Nigeria. Let me appreciate the NAPTIP, the EU, the ROLAC, and the Ministry of Women Affairs for helping to organize this public presentation and the report for the year 2020. I enjoin all to work at strengthening and improving the effectiveness and implementation of the VAPP Act in the coming years. I want to use this opportunity to thank everyone that made this occasion a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your goodwill message. At this point, we are going to just take a very short break to watch a video that has been prepared by the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program, ROLAC. And this video is to demonstrate the level of gender-based violence in Nigeria, showing from the victim's perspective. So for one, I mean, I'm a founder of a nonprofit organization that focuses on mental health. And I know the realities of how gender-based violence affects the mental health of every individual that has gone through this ordeal. So this video, we're going to be queuing it up for you to watch. And I will now introduce, introduce our next speaker. So please, could we play the video? Thank you very much.
Every day, many survivors of sexual and gender-based violence face difficulties accessing the service channels that are meant to provide crucial emergency medical assistance, counseling, social welfare, and justice support. They encounter an SGBV response system that is insensitive, unsupportive, uncoordinated, and ineffectual.
We did a survey. Out of 100 reported cases, only 35 were able to go to court. And out of the 35, only 3 got justice. So it has been harrowing for the victims. It has not been easy accessing justice for sexual and gender-based violence survivors.
For every survivor of sexual and gender-based violence, there are 4 service points that are not only crucial to their immediate and longer-term physical and mental well-being, but also crucial for securing the best justice outcomes. The hospital, the police, social welfare departments, and the courts. Statistics show that lapses at any one of these service points contribute significantly to the inability of survivors to obtain justice and healing.
On this day, he wanted to throw me down on the tiles. So my saving grace was me hitting my head on the wall and falling on the bed. If I had landed on the floor, I don't think I would have survived it. Most of these beatings goes with a rape immediately. And then you're asking him if he's normal, and then he's saying to you, you're his legal wife. And so he has every right to not just physically assault you, but sexually assault you. So I went to NAPTIP, and the medical report was a very important evidence that they needed for this case. But the hospital said they couldn't because the doctors are colleagues with him in the same office where he works, and I cannot assess those medical reports.
Shekaranta 5 makwabci ne muke da shi. Ranan da dubu ta tashi cika, uwar ne ta same shi, uwar yarinya. To kin ji mafari kenan da muka sani, shine sai ya kasance cewa ashe ba ma so ɗaya ba so biyu bane. Wannan shine na uku. Allah to na sirri shi. Kanina ne ma ya tafi da state din da ita yarinya da sauran 'yan sanda. The next day again sai suka kara cewa wai yaron shi kanina din ya dawo da kudin case file. Nuna masa ba mu da kudin wannan case file din. Kawo shi kenan za su neme mu.
Growing up as a deaf child was a big challenge for me. Expressing my feelings was difficult. No one was ready to listen to me because they believed that anything I say is useless. One day, we were sent to work on the farm. Because my cousin was the oldest amongst us, he sent everyone away, leaving just the both of us on the farm. My 18-year-old cousin raped me at the age of 12, and nobody believed me because I was deaf. My grandmother and my own mother did not believe me, so I felt it was my fault. I wanted to kill myself. If they do not believe me, How can they take me to the hospital, police station, or even the courts to get justice? So the matter died within my family.
I went to Bible study. I gone back. And I began to tell me the story. My neighbor, all of us eating for one plate. She come inside their own room, lock passage. The man now holding his hand, he push him on our chair. He remove his towel, tear his pants. After I rape her, finish, he warn her. You don't want to hear her for anywhere. Even though we, parents, ask her. Look, you no talk. If you talk, you go come inside our house, kill him. Nobody will know. Our father go and call police. Police arrest the man. After they lock the man, they bail the man. That's why you quickly go to court. To help him that the court will help. But they didn't see the help. Now come today, come tomorrow. Every month. Every time court didn't hide my daughter, they go open my daughter face. Everybody see my daughter face. Even to pregnant when you belly big, everybody seeing it. Someone be the one they train for school. Just spoil her for me. Just rape her. 13 years child.
So, how can service points that provide support to victims of sexual and gender-based violence be better positioned to ensure that there are no lapses when they need to report a crime, gather evidence, get social support, and access justice?
The moment a victim gets to the police station, she should be referred to the gender desk, because it is expected that the gender desk is manned by a personnel who is conversant with gender issues. They are to ensure that they should carry out proper investigation and that evidence is preserved and ensure that the victim is secured and safe.
Right from the entry point, when they get there, because they are emotionally down, victims of SGBV needs high level of empathy. Okay, so the duty of a doctor during the examination is also to document forensic samples collected, like the biological samples, and these things are documented properly in a way that it will assist the justice system, to establish a case.
Psychosocial support is one of the most important services that survivors require. It is at that psychosocial support stage that you provide the support that helps the person even want to seek justice. And someone comes in to seek justice, they go to every stage of the service and they are not treated less than they should be treated just because they have a disability.
So a survivor needs to know that at every point in time, you're holding her hand.
Sexual gender-based violence requires timely response. It's life-saving. We have the penal code and the criminal code. These laws need to be reviewed and amended, and for the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, it should be adopted in states. What we also are advocating for is gender desk in the Ministry of Justice, because if we have that, it will also help in the timely intervention, even in the courts. The quality of services to be provided by these social service providers can be strengthened by government through funding.
There has to be closer collaboration between the different agencies that provide care and support to survivors. So the system as a whole has to be changed so that it is survivor friendly.
For Fatima, Rosalind, Shola, Faith, and millions of other survivors and victims of sexual and gender-based violence, it is very important for governments to adopt a comprehensive plan for coordinated reforms that will result in enhanced justice outcomes and benefit for survivors.
Role we all play in this fight against gender-based violence. Thank you. I would like at this point in time to welcome our next speaker for her words of solidarity and commitment. She is a trailblazer in the Nigerian political scene, having begun her career right at the grassroots before becoming a deputy governor of Plateau State. She's the first female to hold that position in northern Nigeria. She is also a board member of the National Agency for Control of AIDS, NACA, and the Woman of the Year awardee for her contribution to Nigeria at the 10th African Icon of Our Generation Award. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Her Excellency Dame Pauline Talon, as she comes to the stage. A round of applause for her, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the point of correction, I cannot hold two offices. I'm not a member of NACA board. I was chairman NACA board before my appointment as Minister of Women Affairs. Thank you. Today is another great day where we are making great progress in our efforts to address the burning issues of gender-based violence. I therefore acknowledge the representative of the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, my dear sister Sadia Umar Farouk, who is ably represented by her acting permanent secretary. I acknowledge the presence of the EU ambassador, who is ably represented by the Deputy Ambassador Alexandra Gomes. I want to specially acknowledge and commend the DG NAPTIP for putting this together and to invite us all for the launch of the first annual VAPP report that is taking place here today. Dr. Fatima Waziri Aziz, well done. My dear brother, the DG Human Rights Commission, Tony Ojukwu, it's good to see you again. This is our week, busy week, moving from one program to the other. I'm trying to rush for another right now. Members of the diplomatic corps gathered here, I want to specially acknowledge the representative of the country rep of ROLAC, heads of agencies and our development partners, civil society organizations. I want to especially acknowledge NAD and Amina Salihu for the great work you are all doing. I want to especially acknowledge the representative of the Inspector General of Police, who is another champion and is doing very, very well since assumption of office. I remember early this year I led a powerful delegation of women and country rep of UN Women to see him and to re-emphasize the need for the police to play the key role in helping us address gender-based violence and all forms of violence against women and girls and children, because the boys are not even safe. Our clerics and elder statesmen here present, representative of the Civil Defense Commandant, Janet Ene, the representative of the Commandant of the Correctional Service, other paramilitary organizations here present, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here as we continue the war against all forms of violence against women and children. It is therefore my honor and delight to make this remark at this important occasion on the presentation of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 Annual Implementation Report 2020. I'd like to commend the consultant, the British Council, through the RORAC program for this initiative. I also like to congratulate NAPTIP for organizing this event, stakeholders, and in particular members of the civil society for this report and support towards the promotion of gender equality and women empowerment in various areas. I commend your total commitment, the hard work and for making this event a reality. The rate of physical and psychological and emotional violence against women and children in recent times is very disheartening and high incidence both in the cities and in our rural areas. What we have just watched on the screen is just a tip of the many, many horrifying cases that women and minors go through across the country. There is no day that we don't receive cases of rape and gender-based violence across the country. And this is heartbreaking, and that's why I consider all of us gathered here and all the organizations that are in the forefront, Human Rights Commission, Ministry of Women Affairs, and NAPTIP, all civil society organizations, I consider us an army that is fighting and demanding for justice against all forms of violence against women. Women have suffered so much. You've seen the trauma, you've seen what they have gone through in this video clip. And this is just a tip out of so many. Out of one reported case, every day, 10 are not reported. And I want to call on all well-meaning Nigerians. All of us gathered here today, I consider you champions for believing in what NAPTIP is doing, for believing with what human rights is doing, and all civil societies organizations to address gender-based violence across the country. I commend Mr. President for the high-level commitment. He has shown the highest political commitment as far as gender-based violence is concerned. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, during this year's presentation of budget, Mr. President made a very strong commitment and calling on all ministries and MDAs to ensure that they streamline their budget to be gender responsive. Gender-based violence is not just an ordinary crime. It is the worst crime against humanity. And women, all issues of gender-based violence are human rights issues. So women's issues are human rights issues that should be supported by all and sundry. I invite all of you to join the army of ensuring that we speak out, we support survivors and victims of gender-based violence, we expose perpetrators of this evil crime. I thank God that we are making progress with the intense advocacy to see that we are breaking the silence of the tradition of the culture of silence. We must break it, and we must encourage survivors to speak out. Victims must be supported. And that's why the role of the military, the role of the police, the health care, the social welfare, their roles are very, very important. We must support victims and ensure that justice is given. And it is in line with this that Mr. President put in place the Interministerial Committee headed by the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Minister for Justice, to chair this Interministerial Committee, co-chaired by myself. Yesterday, I led a team to see him because of the alarming report cases that are still lying fallow in our courts. You've listened from the report from the country vice president of FIDA, who is doing very, very well. FIDA have been doing very, very well. I commend them for the good work and the support they've been giving victims and stepping out to ensure that justice is given. But so many cases, out of thousands of cases that have gone to court, only less than 1% have been convicted. This is unacceptable. It was based on that that I led a delegation to see the Attorney General yesterday and to re-emphasize the need for for the justice system to do better. This can only be done if we all stand together to lend our voice, to be part of this army, to say no to all forms of violence against women. We are making progress to ensure that all states of the Federation domesticate the VAPP Act and the Child's Rights Act. A lot of progress has gone in, and I was just telling the DG that we are updating the number of states that have domesticated the VAPP Act on a daily basis. So far, as of today, we have 27 that have domesticated, and we have 6. We have 6 that have passed and are awaiting assent. That makes it 33. So we are making progress. Very soon, our target is to ensure that the entire country domesticate and ensure implementation. It's not about domesticating it, but ensuring that these laws are properly implemented. I commend NAPTIP for being the custodian of the Sex Offenders Register, and I call on all states that have so far domesticated the Child's Rights Act to ensure proper implementation and exposing all perpetrators of these criminal acts on the register. Once they are exposed, it will help checkmate and bring down the number, because no rapist would want to see his picture exposed on the sex offenders register. And rapists, we know, they are not strangers. They are not people far away. From the clip we saw is the immediate neighbor. It can be a relation, a driver, a staff within the home, a cook, and the most painful of all, fathers or uncles. You can imagine what women go through for a husband to rape your own child. This is a trauma that you go through all your life. And if we want this country to be a better country, we must address these problems of gender-based violence holistically. Because once a mother is psychologically imbalanced, she can't bring up better children that will be better leaders of tomorrow. Mothers must be in the right frame of mind, well supported, well cared for, in order to bring up leaders, better leaders of tomorrow. Abusing minors, destroying our future leaders is another evil and the greatest crime against humanity. Because among these minors, you don't know who would be the president or governor of this country. Please, the issue of gender-based violence is not just for stakeholders gathered here, but for all well-meaning Nigerians to stand up, support NAPTIP, support human rights, support Ministry of Women Affairs, and support every home where you see that there is an abuse. Expose them, speak out. I want to commend and thank the British Council, the EU, UN for the Spotlight Initiative, Human Rights Commission, ROLAC, for all the good work you are doing, and all our civil society organizations. We must remain a strong, committed team to address this violent crime. What we need to do more is more collaboration and coordination. That is the key word. We must work together, collaborate, support one another in order to see that this country comes up to a level where there will be zero tolerance against gender-based violence and all forms of crime against women and children. Mr. President has already set the pace, supported by the wife of the president, our governors, all wives of governors. You've seen yesterday we had another second annual conference of all the wives of our governors with state commissioners, where they showed their commitment and solidarity to work with us and to ensure that we rid our nation of all forms of crimes against women. Together we stand. United, divided we fall. We cannot afford to fail. With the efforts NAPTIP is doing, we'll keep supporting you. We'll keep working with you, and I call on all well-meaning Nigerians to do same so that we can help clean up this country and make it a better nation. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your words of commitment and solidarity. I'd like to recognize the presence of Reverend Father Augustine Okochi, the Education Secretary, representing the Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria. He's here with us. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so now to present to us the highlights of the VAPP Act Annual Report, what we've been waiting for, I'd like to introduce our speaker. She is a senior programs officer with the MacArthur Foundation Africa office, a farmer and a feminist. She was the senior special assistant to the Minister of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory 2004 to 2007 and coordinator DFID and UK AIDS Coalition for Change Program 2007 to 2011. She is a technical advisor to numerous government, development partners, private sector and civil society organizations on the African continent and globally. She designed the Nigeria National Sexual Offender Database, including curating the structure for HIMAT and SPARC, that's government and non-governmental voices, facilitating implementation of the VAPP Act and law. She has traveled and written widely, moderated, facilitated, and participated in panels and conversations on women and girls' rights, accountability, and environment, and the environment, nationally and internationally, including at the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome Amina Salihu. Thank you.
Many thanks indeed, my sister Angela, for your generosity, but I'm also conscious of the fact that time is of the essence. And I know that I was given 30 minutes to do this on the agenda, but I'm not going to take 30 minutes. I want to try to keep this to 7 minutes. Yes. And it was a privilege to have sat next to our mother, and so I've renegotiated the time with her because it's important that she's here to do the unveiling. DG Fatima, I had negotiated that with my sister. I was to her right, just as you're to her left. Plus, you're going to get the report, and I would like to beseech you to please read this report when you get it. It's in 7 sections. It's very easy to read. And what we have done is to carry the burden of a pioneer report, to look at what the context is right now, what are the things that need to change, and who needs to play what particular role. Our methodology was quite straightforward. We tried to build and to strengthen trust between those who are on the supply side and those on the demand side. And you have heard their names today. Some of them have been mentioned. We call them the HIMAT and the SPARC. We expected the SPARC to really spark. They are the Service Providers Accountability Resource Committee, to nudge and to work with the high-level multi-agency team, the government actors, to ensure that data, because data is so important. It was difficult getting data together to write this report. We had disparate data everywhere. So going forward into the 2021 report, we need to do better in terms of building trust, in terms of mining our data, and ensuring that we have some agreed, synergized, if you will, template for gathering data. I wanted to bring this up. There are 3 things that we're concerned about in doing this report. One, of course, is data, like I said. The other was solidarity, and the third is resilience. Some of the things you've heard today continue to re-echo in our communities. Our children are no longer safe in places where they're traditionally safe. Boys are now also affected. The data has shown that. But in terms of building solidarity, something that I think development partners and civil society need to acknowledge is the fact that the sexual assault referral centers are being affirmed as excellent first responders, and they deserve to be strengthened. Some states have as much as 4 or 5 SACs. Some have just maybe 1. So the referral pathway was a challenge. How do we understand better the referral pathway in reality and apply this, as it were, to the task at hand? In the 3 or so minutes that I have, let me do something different. I would like to invite the colleagues who have worked with us on this report up on stage as I speak for the next 1 minute. I know ROLAC has been particularly supportive because this is a very auspicious but sad day, and we do not want to reduce who we are to just numbers. It's important to name names. Therefore, I have the honor to speak to you about the content of the report, but I couldn't have done this all by myself. So I'm looking out for my sister Toyosi. I know she's been here earlier. She's got to return. Uche Nwokedi, thank you for the warm applause to these colleagues as I call them up. My colleagues from NAPTIP, Titus Mangza, if he's here. Isa Abdul Karim, you promised me you were going to come up stage. Our formidable national coordinator for SGBV, you heard the Honorable Minister welcome her earlier, Ene Ede. Please let me also ask you to join us on stage. And any members of your team that I might not have mentioned, my sister Ene, because I knew we had colleagues on our team. It's very important for us to name names because oftentimes experiences of women or minors are reduced to mere statistics, yet our lives matter. Our experiences are individual, and it is important that as we move forward to talk about further reports and the next report, that we emphasize the way lives can be made better and safer, not only because we have laws, but because we use the laws to change our reality. A law is a necessary but insufficient condition. And I'd like to thank all of those who have stood with us. The Minister of Women Affairs gave us tremendous data, and the Minister, of course, wrote the foreword to that document. And to welcome my sister, Fatima Waziri Azi. She has built upon the energy of her predecessors, and we know that we have a round peg in a round hole. I'm not calling you up, my sister Fatima, because I know you're the boss, and you are not part of the writing anyways. But here we are. Please, another warm round of applause for these colleagues. So, Honorable Minister, ma'am, dear colleagues, I've kept my word. Under 7 minutes, we are done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Because of time, I would like to call on the DG of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, to invite for the unveiling our various dignitaries present here. Thank you. Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, DG of NAPTIP. A round of applause for her, please. Thank you. I think if we could have another, okay.
So thank you everyone again for staying with us this far. So what I'll be doing is, obviously we'll be unveiling the VAPP report. I will request Her Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Women's Affairs, to please, help us unveil that. And also Mr. Ali Grema, the acting PAMSEC, who is representing Her Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, will also stand beside Her Excellency to unveil the report. And after the unveiling, the representative of the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs will present the report to the representative of the Statistician General of the National Bureau of Statistics. I don't know if anyone is here from MBS. Okay, please. Thank you.
we've come to this very important occasion where we will unveil this VAPP annual report that we've been waiting for. I commend the DG for putting this together, and it is my singular honor and privilege to invite all my sisters and brothers here to help me unveil this acts. And we pray that this annual report, as Amina rightly appealed to us, let's try and read it. Let's try and be soldiers, army, vanguards in the struggle to address all forms of violence against women and children. We can only make Nigeria a healthy society if we address all forms of violence against women and children. It needs a holistic approach, and I can see from the faces of all those gathered here that you are committed to this cause. Our paramilitary officers here, all our civil society organizations, well done, and keep up the good work.
On behalf of the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Saidia Omar Farouk, I wish to present this document to the Secretary General of the Federation on her behalf. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tunde Adebisi, Director, Social and Gender Statistics Department in the Bureau, representing the Secretary General of the Federation, Chief Executive Officer of National Bureau of Statistics, in person of Dr. S.V. Ari. Actually, he has a good message that he brought. I don't know whether I'll be given 3 or 4 minutes to say it. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Oh, no, no. Thank you very much.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are basically at the very end of this historical event, and I will be calling shortly for the closing remarks the Director of Legal and Prosecution, H.H. Tahir, to give the closing remark. But just to encourage each and every one of us to take time out to read this report. The whole point of this event is so we can have access to this report and look critically into the VAPP Act and the various challenges, successes, everything that has been provided in there for us to make better decisions regarding every form of gender-based violence or violence against people in Nigeria. So my name is Angela Uchibaye. Once more, once I call in the Director of Legal and Prosecution, I'd probably not come back again on the stage. It has been my pleasure to moderate today's session. So on this note, I think we'll just wait for the DG of NAPTIP to be back before we close. Or do we proceed? Okay. Do we wait for her to come back? Is she coming back? Okay, so we'll just wait for the DG of NAPTIP to be back, and then we will close the event. So please, H.H. Tahir, please get ready for your closing remarks. I think we can also, okay, right, she's coming back. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it's been my pleasure to anchor today's event. My name is Angela Ochubaye. Okay, and I've, of course, just been told that there's lunch right after this event, right? So once we're done with the closing remarks, we will take the national anthem again, and there is lunch ready at this end for us. Okay, I'd like to call on H.H. Tahir, Director of Legal and Prosecution, for the closing remarks.
Her Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Dr. Dame Pauline Tallen, Mama Nigeria, Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, our Supervising Minister, ably represented by Acting PAMSEC, my amiable Director General of NAPTIP, heads of various agencies here present, representatives of EU ambassador. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. My job is simple. My job signifies the end of the event. The annual report is in fulfillment of the provision of Section 42 of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, and the report drafting committee has done a wonderful job in coming up with the report. As my DG said, it is the first of its kind, and it is hoped that moving forward, we will have a more robust report, and that the report will serve as a guide to policy making and implementation. Finally, I wish to thank everyone here present for being part of this event. I also wish to thank members of the HIMAT, ROLAC, European Union, COS, SPAC members, Dr. Amina Salihu and her team for their effort and support. I also wish to thank NA and her team. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we rise for the national anthem? much. Do have a wonderful day. And please remember that we have lunch ready for you. God bless you.